Hi, and welcome to another video in the Dementia Extras series. My book on dementia, which is the right-hand one of the two, explores why caring is still playing catch-up with the rest of the services surrounding the modern-day packages available for people living with dementia. The two books are available on Amazon as an ebook at $1.99 and paperback at $3.99. All proceeds go to local charities. These videos are supplements and extensions to the dementia book. This time, we're concentrating on how to set about making your home environment as user-friendly as possible for your loved one. It's a large subject, so I've split it into two separate videos. Making your home user-friendly for a loved one with dementia. This is the list of thoughts you should bear in mind. First of all, prevention is always better than cure. Don't let things go wrong and then have to scuttle about trying to make them better. Even if you think it's going to be ages before he or she will need a particular item, get it in there well in advance. Secondly, not every choice is expensive, and at least one of the choices that you'll be seeing costs nothing at all, and not choosing because you think it's too expensive can itself be a very bad choice. Do also seek help from social work and local charities, get a needs assessment, and see whether you can get financial support if you require it. Be flexible. Today's solutions may not work in the future. In other words, your loved one will deteriorate over time, and something which is satisfactory, like a support rail, is fine, but when he or she has to go into a wheelchair, it's out of reach. Not all solutions cost a lot, as I've said. Use the internet to check prices and the availability of the products prescribed. And you may well find on sites like Amazon that second-hand refurbished equipment is a lot cheaper than buying new. And some choices may not work as well as you wish. I've had a couple of disasters myself, but the vast majority will. And hey, no one has a crystal ball. So number one is plugs, electric light plugs. And this is a cheap one, and I've got the poor little piggy bank here with his eyes popping at the prospect of having the electrician coming along, costing a lot of money to change the plugs from the floor level where they usually are in a house to a higher level where it's much easier for your loved one to deal with. However, I have a cunning plan. It's very simple, very straightforward, and it will make your piggy bank smile. Here we go. How to install your plug raiser. As you know, as you get older, as well as if you have dementia, it is getting more and more difficult to reach down to the floor to switch plugs on and off, and there's always a danger of trying to fiddle one into place or pull it out and a nasty electrical shock intervening. So let's get the gentleman out of the way and I'll show you what I've done. If you look at the bottom of the image, you'll see a plug socket, a wire spiraling its way upwards, and a 3-gang plug with switches, always preferable with switches at a higher up level. It's neat, it's cheap, and it helps so much for the person with dementia to be able just to reach out, and it'll help with you as well as you become older and creakier. So that is a real situation, folks, from Chez Nous. It's not too ugly, but practicality comes first. Now your loved one can use the sockets with the switches on each as an additional safety measure. Still on the subject of plugs, can I point out something that I came across some time ago, which makes it less tricky for you to pull a plug out and put it in. Here it is. It's got a sort of eyelet in one side, and you can pull it out and push it in with much more accuracy with your hands well away from the live plug socket. And I've used these for things like hairdryer, handheld mixer, and other little domestic kitchen items. It makes using a plug a breeze and much safer too. Now, the next item up on the list is this young lady, Alexa. And I've got Alexa switched on at the moment. Listen to this. Alexa, what's the temperature in Singapore? It's 27 degrees Celsius, she tells me. I won't use her name again, otherwise she'll interrupt the rest of this video. On the left, you see a version with a colour screen, which obviously has more uses, for example, in cookery recipes and streaming video and so forth, and the one on the right, which is sound only. Do remember there are rival products to this young lady, and I leave you to decide which is the best. She herself, or itself, whichever it is, I don't know, comes in two flavours, as I've said, those two displays, and the colour display I've noticed is quite cheaply available in refurbished form on Amazon. Before you buy, check if one of your other computer type pieces of equipment supports her and can work either instead or in conjunction with it, her. If you're moving from room to room, you need to have access to your friendly voice and an app supporting it in that room. You'll need Wi-Fi for this device, and for lighting, you also need smart light bulbs, around 2 for £20. You can then switch them on and off using her, and dim them, and even, depending on the lights, change colour. Here is a list of some of the things that the young lady can do. There's a whole range of them there, and I suggest if you want to look at those in detail, just pause this video for a moment. Noting also on the top right hand corner of the yellow panel that you can use smart plugs. That is, that plug there which you plug into the normal socket, and then you plug, say, a standard lamp or something like that in, and you say that she should switch that on or switch it off, and that also helps someone with dementia or anybody with a disability to manage the lighting in the room. Now, something very practical. Get a grip, it says here. Grab handles are an essential aid. Don't just think in terms of the bathroom for them. Handles have their uses all round the house. Ensure you install them at the right height, and do be certain that you're screwing them into a solid part of the wall. Don't just drill into plasterboard and hope. And one other very important point, do consider getting a grab handle which has, as I'm going to show you here in close-up, as you can see, rubber inserts which stop your hands, especially soapy little hands, slipping as you get hold of the handle for support. Next up, making your walking aid more stable. Here comes the common or garden walking stick. It's actually a collapsible one, but it's a fairly standard product. And if you look at the bottom, you might just see something rather odd that enables the walking stick to stand up under its own steam. Let me push that to one side, and let me close in. And there it is, a 3-pronged support. There are other supports around with 5 or 6 prongs on, and they're very useful. And the scruffy bit of sticky paper at the bottom reminds me that with all these products, that if you use them outside the home, it's very useful to have your name and address and telephone number on them, so that if anything goes astray or something goes wrong, they can find their way back to you. Now, that's not the only walking aid that's available. Can I show you two others? On the left-hand side, one that I'm not all that keen on because the larger spread of the legs seems to get in the way of your own feet as you walk along, but some people seem to like them. And on the right-hand side is a Zimmer frame. If you do get one of those, can I encourage you to get one, as here, with a couple of wheels on the front, because that slips backwards and forwards rather than the user having to lift it up and plonking it down for every step they take. Now, next up, making your home user-friendly, choosing your floors with care. If you've got wheeled or rollator and so on and so forth, it's much easier for the loved one if the floors are smooth, and in our case I have wooden floors nearly in every room in the house, and also a laminated floor in the bathroom. So at the forefront of the screen there is the laminated, and then the background is the wooden floor. Other ways of getting around are a rollator or a trilator, and I have one of the latter here. It's not quite so stable as the rollator, and it lacks what our rollator does have, and that is a comfortable, tolerably comfortable seat that enables the loved one to sit down if they have moments of tiredness, and that's particularly useful if you're doing some shopping and taking them along and they suddenly lose a bit of strength, and you just say sit down for a couple of moments and so forth. Okay. And next, what's rather unkindly called dementia clocks. I've just put a couple of sample screens up. If you type that into Amazon or any other search engine for products, there's a whole choice, a wide choice of these. The display at the top was more suitable for someone in the earlier stages, and they have multiple displays, and the one below, as you can see, although my flashlight has got it away, that it has Thursday morning and time. Some of them have the date as well, and a whole variety of different options, including continuous displays of photographs. So that is a very, very useful device which can be purchased in, I've got 3 or 4 around the house, and I've in fact taken one of them to the care home where she is now, and that's up on the wall, out of reach, so that she can't tamper with it. And one other user-friendly device that people wax lyrical about, but I absolutely hate them. Is it the bird? Is it the plane? No, it's a grabber stick. It picks things up when you drop them on the floor. My question is, how do you pick that up when you drop that on the floor? Anyway, many folk find them invaluable. The only problem is that they seem to defy any attempt to place them in a usable position without crashing to the ground. Maybe it's just me being clumsy. One other item that could possibly be useful is a TV remote. This one, for example, is inexpensive on the market like this, and it can be programmed to switch TV on and off as remotes do, and then turn to a specific station by pressing very simple buttons. I suggest you have a look at that possibility. Now then, where are we? We're at number 11, light switches. You'll find that the manual dexterity of your loved one will deteriorate as dementia advances, and that it might be useful to consider getting one of the following options. On the left-hand side is a cord which is placed there just for display purposes. It should be upside down on the ceiling and is pulled. And the one on the right-hand side is a very large switch which, however clumsy little fingers are, is very easy to use. Do make sure you are competent with wiring up this kind of electrical stuff, and also pretty good at switching off the power supply before you do so. And finally, a thought. On the left-hand side, a home, and on the right-hand side, a care home. You might say, what's going on here? Watch and listen. Here we go. Goes all the way to the care home. Your loved one is deposited there and lives happily ever after, we hope. And you have a house full of all these gadgets that I've been talking about, and you think, oh, good heavens. The house, in fact, thinks, is this a complete waste of time? Is it all wasted, all those grab handles and other kinds of switches and rollators? And the answer is not really, because you now will be getting older and you'll probably find that you'll need them yourself. So I recommend that you think positively about them. And here we go. Let me press that button and see if I can get a response. There we go. No, it isn't wasted. It was extremely useful. That is the end then of part 1 of my household items that might be useful to you. Part 2 contains bigger items, but not always expensive items. Thank you for watching again, and please select part 2 from the links that come up on the screen. Check the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button followed by the bell, which will let you know when more videos become available.